Okay, let's start then. Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone is well and keeping you safe. Welcome to our weekly Thursday cyber webinar session. Every week we do bringing some interesting topics on cybersecurity for you to get more insights and get more protected while working remotely in the corona situation. So today we'll be covering a very exciting new solution which is Panda Systems Management, which will cover how it helps to ease management of remote working. So as you know, my name is Gabriel Malman, and I'm the Business Development Manager here at Technorizon UK. Just a quick overview about who we are. Technorizon UK is a cyber security company just focusing cyber. We have 25 years experience and we protect our clients in a global scale. So as you know, this session will be recorded, and in case you want to check later or share with a colleague, that will be on our website later. At the end of the webinar, also you have the opportunity to ask questions, and so please do submit that on the right side of the page, and we'll be covered at the end of the session. So starting today, I would like to introduce our presenter, Mr. Mike Britton, who is the technical pre-sales engineer for Panda Security here in the UK. Mike, welcome. Can you hear me?
Thank you. Yes, hello. How are we all? Thank you, Gabriel.
Good. All yours, Mike. Thanks for coming, and please go ahead. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much. Yes, thanks everybody for taking the time to visit us today. I'll be taking you through, as Gabriel mentioned, the Panda Systems Management Solution. But before that, I'll give you a quick introduction to Panda as a company, a little bit about some of the other things that we do. As Gabriel's already mentioned, I'm technical pre-sales, or one of the technical pre-sales team in Panda Security UK. I've been with the company for over 4 years now, so hopefully I have some ideas about the solutions. Today's session should run for approximately 30 minutes, and then I'll answer any questions that you put into the Q&A box at the end. So without further ado, let's move forward. So Panda Security, who are we? What do we do? We are an endpoint security solutions provider, first and foremost. We're a Spanish-born company, so we originally started out in Bilbao, Spain. And now, these days, we have over 55 physical locations around the world. We have a very good stronghold in the European market for endpoint security, our own bespoke solutions that have been going strong for 30 years. We are, in fact, a leader in the European market for EDR solutions. This is what we are famous for. This is what we are most well known for. For anybody who's not particularly familiar with the acronym, EDR stands for Endpoint Detection and Response, and it is the current standard for endpoint security. It's currently the most prolific technology for securing your endpoints. You may have heard or seen somewhere, it has been in the public eye for some time now, that Panda Security is also under a merger and acquisition with WatchGuard. So this is huge news. The portfolios of the two companies complement one another massively. And of course, as you can see, with Panda having a stronghold in Europe and WatchGuard having a stronghold in America, it's going to be a very good pairing indeed. I'll quickly give you all an overview with regards to the portfolio so that you've got some sort of idea as to what Panda does as a whole. And then I'll focus in on the topic of today's webinar, which is the systems management solution. So the EDR solution that Panda have offered to the market is Adaptive Defense 360. This is our flagship solution for securing endpoints, and it really nails the problem of zero-day threats. The main focus of this solution is to secure your endpoints from zero-day threats and to provide you some additional protection against malware attacks. These are two areas that normal antivirus solutions do not do so well in. Further to this, we also have additional modules which can be paired with the Adaptive Defense 360 solution. Each of these is targeted towards a particular business need. Panda Patch Management provides software updates to Windows, but third-party applications as well, over the internet and in real time. Includes rollback capability and the ability to do on-premise Windows feature updates. Panda Full Encryption enables management of the BitLocker encryption process, giving you the ability to implement BitLocker remotely and in real time, and to store all of the recovery keys automatically in our platform. The advanced reporting tool is a little bit more advanced, enabling you access to telemetry from all of your Windows systems to enable threat hunting and other interactions with that data. And the Panda data control module is focused towards giving you visibility over personal information in your business, hopefully making you more compliant with the GDPR regulations and other similar regulations in that field. The main focus of today's webinar, however, we're going to be talking about the Panda Systems Management Solution. And this has been a long-standing part of the portfolio for Panda. And this falls into a category of products known as RMM, or Remote Monitoring and Management. Now, this solution is not necessarily targeted at security. Whilst we are a security company first and foremost, we are also covering management of devices in the systems management solution. So this aims to give IT departments a cohesive solution that provides them visibility of all of their assets and simplifies the IT infrastructure tools and unifies the IT operations. I'll cover this in a lot more detail in this webinar. This solution is also available in a sales package known as Fusion 360, which gives you a license of systems management and a license of Adaptive Defense 360 for a single unit cost. And obviously it's a little bit of a discount in that too. Also, I'd like to just highlight that Panda only provide cloud-based solutions, which is perfect for the modern way of working, modern workflows, and of course in the current situation that we all find ourselves, this is a real advantage to all businesses that are utilizing Panda solutions. So let's move on to specifically the Panda Systems Management solution itself. A lot of us are now working with distributed IT infrastructure, and of course that has been a trend moving into more mobile working, more and more people on the road. It's been an ongoing trend, but obviously we've all been forced to accelerate that process. So we come up against quite a number of challenges when we're dealing with a distributed IT infrastructure, and you can see some of them highlighted on the screen here. Now, each of these challenges that we face is something that is directly addressed by systems management and something that it will really be able to help you with if you are relating to the challenges I'm about to mention. So the first thing, of course, is inventory. What have you got? Where is it? Who's got it? How's it being used? What software is on there? What's the spec? How old is the system? It's important to know what we have in the business because ultimately these are assets to the company. If the IT infrastructure isn't working for the company, then it's not a good investment for the business. The next thing is monitoring. Now, monitoring is one of those things that often gets missed, and oftentimes companies will rely on users to do this step for them. How do you know if there's something wrong with your IT infrastructure? How do you know if a computer is doing something that it shouldn't do? How do you know what is going on in your environment? And oftentimes companies will wait for symptoms to arise that users report into the support teams. When we're in a distributed IT infrastructure, this problem compounds and becomes that much more difficult because, of course, we're no longer in a physical presence of these devices. People cannot so easily communicate. With Systems Management Solution, we provide you the ability to monitor these devices, the IT infrastructure that you have distributed through the solution itself. Furthermore, we also have remote support tools built into the solution. Again, this becomes a bit of a challenge for distributed IT, particularly if the company is not set up for it. What we find is companies have very quickly adopted workaround solutions in order to be able to support the endpoints from a distributed perspective. But sometimes this brings into the fold some security concerns where support tools are used in a fashion they were never intended. A prime example, of course, is RDP, or Remote Desktop Protocol from Microsoft, which is often used over the internet, but is never really designed for that purpose, and as a result has created a prolific attack vector for cyber attackers to exploit. Next, we have maintenance, and in maintenance, I group together simple configuration changes, software updates, patching. All of these things, of course, incredibly important for securing IT infrastructure, but in the same breath becomes a considerable challenge in many cases when we're not on a local network. A lot of the patching tools that we have available to us only work over the local network, and oftentimes configuring changes, pushing new software is also reliant upon a local network. So having a distributed IT infrastructure can represent some real challenges for us when it comes to maintenance and upkeep of our IT infrastructure. Lastly, we have reporting, and this is not to be overlooked. I often say that a job well done goes unnoticed, and I believe that this is never more true than in IT. For most businesses, the IT department is an overhead, and if they do their job perfectly, nothing goes wrong, and everybody's happy. But how do we gain recognition from the management and the decision makers within the business to make them understand that the reason nothing's happened is because of our efforts? The answer, of course, is reporting. And through systems management, we can automate the reporting process, being able to distribute knowledge about the health of the estate in a concise and easy to understand manner. And we can set this up ahead of time to go to the relevant people at the relevant times. So we set and forget it, and we don't have to worry about anything moving forward. All of this works from a single agent that's installed onto each of the devices that you wish to manage. And we can see from this graphic the idea conceptualized in a visual form is that you have this piece of software on each of the endpoints that you want to manage. This software is feeding back the inventory, the monitoring, all of the knowledge that we need into the cloud console, which I'm about to demonstrate to you. And from here, the IT team can remotely access all this information and look after the IT infrastructure remotely. You'll see here we also have a printer in this diagram. So yes, the solution does support network devices through SNMP, or Simple Network Management Protocol. So we can actually have a very comprehensive view of all the IT assets, including iOS, Android, Mac, Linux, Windows, and network devices. So with that, I want to jump into the console and show you what it all looks like. So here we've got the console itself. This is the landing page, as if you had just logged in. This is the first page that we would land on. And you can see from here that we've got all of the sites within the company. Sites is designed to be one way of logically splitting your devices. So you could take that to mean physical geographical sites. If you have multiple locations within your business, different physical buildings, you could create a separate site for each one. But then you could also do this in a more network established way and think of it as separate individual local networks. Either way, it's just a way to logically split out the devices for management. The console is split into 3 hierarchical levels. First of all, we've got the account level, which is all-encompassing, and any configuration or anything that you do in the account level has the ability to apply or take effect to all devices registered in the entire console. Then we have the sites in the middle. And by clicking into a site, you restrict your ability to affect devices to those that reside within that site itself. So now that I've clicked into company head office, I cannot affect any device in any other site from here. The last hierarchical level of the console is the devices. So if I click right straight down into a specific device, I'm now looking at information that relates only to this device and none others. So I want to go through these benefits or challenges that I demonstrated or spoke about in the order. So let's start with inventory. And as you can see, when I click on the devices tab, we have a list of every device that's registered in the console. In this particular site, we're looking at company head office. And you can see in the system tray in my bottom right hand corner that I have an agent which is online, it's connected, it's blue, which means it's connected to the console, and it's registered into the cloud console so that we can manage this device. If I wanted to extract some information in an ad hoc fashion, I can just select all of the devices and choose export to CSV. You can see it gives me the option to choose the information that I'm interested in. And this is a really quick way to extract some inventory information. Furthermore, you can see the devices that are online or offline. We can see all sorts of information in this list view, and we can customize the fields that are available to us here as well. On the right-hand side, we've got user-defined fields, which I'll explain maybe a little bit more later. But here we can populate specific information that we want to target from the endpoints. Maybe license keys or something like that can be pulled up from the endpoints and into the console for us to see here. So that's the inventory. If we move on to monitoring very quickly, and you can see there's a number of policies in here, but the one I want to discuss the most is monitoring. I'm going to set up a monitor, just a quick one, just to show you what it looks like. You can see that to begin with, we need to target the devices that we wish to monitor. And to do this, there's a number of different options in the console. We've got the default device filters. These are quite extensive. There's quite a number of different filters that are built into the solution for you to pick from. We've also got custom device filters, and these can be set up yourself in order to target devices based on particular criteria. And those could be anything from hardware or software configuration, or a particular software package that's installed, or the BIOS version. You can see the number of options in here is really quite extensive. We can create logical operators and be quite detailed with this. These, of course, will create a dynamic list. So for instance, we've got one here for Firefox or one here for Panda software, and as and when the devices have that software uninstalled or installed, they will be added or removed from the list respectively. So this is a really good way of targeting devices based on the criteria. I'm just going to quickly use a default one. So let's say all desktop operating systems. And then if we go to add a monitor, you can see here the list of all the different types of monitors that we have available to us. Some of them are really obvious, such as online status monitor, commonly used to monitor the up status of our critical infrastructure, the servers, and of course, if the servers or any device we target with this monitor was to be offline for more than X number of minutes, we would receive the alerts as configured here. So you can see in here that we've got the ability to put in custom variables. So for instance, we don't know which device it is that's going to trigger this particular monitor. And we can do the same for all these types of monitors. You'll want to notice that they're all pretty straightforward to configure. Another common one is the CPU monitor. We often want to monitor the CPU resource consumption across the board for all devices. So in a common scenario is to say 95% used capacity for more than 10 minutes consistently is incredibly unusual and potentially indicative of a problem we need to sort out. Other monitors which I like to use are the Windows Event Viewer log. This is a really powerful one. Of course, there's an awful lot of events that are logged within Windows, and so we can literally copy and paste any log information that we're interested in into this section here and monitor for the existence of those logs. Okay, so now I want to quickly jump back to our device list, and I'll show you a little bit about the remote support tools. And this is quite a capable solution when it comes to support tools. There's quite a lot that you can do. So I'm quickly just going to jump to a relevant computer I want to connect with. Say this one here. I'm going to hover over the burger menu and then go to connect to device. And what's going to happen now is the agent on my machine and the agent on the remote machine are going to create a peer-to-peer connection through a cloud-hosted tunnel server. This means the connection is fully encrypted, fully secure, and it's bridged by the tunnel server hosted by Panda. Now you can see that I'm connected to this device, but I've not done it in a traditional way. And what I mean is I've not taken over the screen. This is not a remote desktop. And so in this way, the user could still be working on this device quite happily and probably wouldn't even notice that we were there. And this can be tremendously impactful. You think about all the time that's wasted when IT administrators or analysts are trying to solve a problem for a user, but only one person can be using that computer at once. So all the time the IT administrators are trying to troubleshoot and fix a problem in the IT device is the time that the user is not able to work. although in this way we're connected in a non-intrusive fashion. So here I can do a number of things without interrupting the user. I can have a remote shell and launch, obviously, CMD commands through this. We can also do remote PowerShell if we wanted to as well. I've got reboot and shutdown options. I've got wake on LAN if the device supports it. We've also got the ability to review the Windows Event Viewer logs. We can push scripts, which I will move on to in a bit. We have the ability to review the registry. In fact, we can even edit the registry from here if we want to. So we can create new registry items and all sorts of things in there. We've got FTP capability to send and receive files. So if there's things on our computer or on our computer and we want to send or receive across the two, we can do that. We can view the software, the processes that are running on the remote device, and we can see the resource consumption across the top. Notice this is real-time metrics. We are connected to the device in real time. This is a live connection, so we can monitor what's happening on the endpoint in real time. We can stop those processes as well if we want, and we can also do the same with services, start and stop services on the remote device. There's a number of other things that we can do, map network drives, tunnel through to local network devices on the remote network, a whole host of features and tools built into this this agent. Of course, if we needed to, we can still do the remote desktop functions that we would expect. So the solution has VNC built into the agent. And here you can see, I can pull out the window. We've got a remote connection going on here. This is just a typical screen share. If I wanted to, I could connect through RDP as well, although not at the same time. And down the left-hand side, we can do a little chat with the user. We can have a conversation, a dialogue with them, just to let them know if we are connected in a non-intrusive way and they've not realized that we're there. We can let them know that we're tinkering around on their system and that we're doing some maintenance work or whatever it is that we may need to do. So that's hopefully giving you an insight with regards to the effectiveness and the way in which this can actually streamline the IT operations from a support perspective. It's really quite effective. Next on our list, we've got maintenance. And under maintenance, there falls a few things. I mentioned patch management. I mentioned simple configuration changes, maybe even software updates or pushing new software out. And this falls into two areas within this console. We have the scripts, which I just mentioned, which we call components in this console. And then we also have the patch management policies. So I'll take you through both of those in turn. The solution actually comes with some components or scripts pre-populated and built into it. And there's at the current time of recording, there's 183 in the console, as you can see here. And these can really be quite useful. You can find some real gems in here. A fairly recent one, as you can see in the featured, is the Windows 10 upgrade. This can really help with a lot of companies upgrading to the latest version of Windows, particularly with Windows 7 recently going end of life. So this is a PowerShell script which will literally trigger the upgrade process on the remote device. It obviously does a lot of prerequisite checks and so forth to make sure that it's going to work okay. But you'll find that there's quite a number of different useful things in here, anything from straightforward deployment of most recent web browsers to monitoring backup solutions and so forth. So we've got these pre-populated scripts or components, but of course we can actually create our own custom ones. And to do that, we go into the components section and click new component. One that I, rather unsurprisingly, do fairly often is just a very straightforward application install, the Panda software that we provide and we create. So to do this, obviously we've got a number of different scripting options in here. I tend to still use batch, simply use an MSI exec command. MSI exec, of course, is the Microsoft built-in utility for installing software. And here I've literally just written out exactly what's required to install any piece of software in an MSI format. Then all we would do is upload the file, which I've just written into this box here, and we're good to go. that would do a silent install of the software. And of course, with this being cloud-based, we can do this in real time and we can do it over the cloud. There's no requirement or reliance on a local network to do this software update. In the same way that I've just done this, of course, we could perform any change on the endpoints we wanted, but we have the capability to script. So this really does become dependent on the scripting skills of the IT team that are using the solution. Obviously, those of you who are quite adept with scripting will know that there's not much you can't do if you know what you're doing with scripting. So this is an incredibly powerful part of the solution and something that can really, really help the IT team. The other thing, of course, to point out with this is that we're not applying a change to an individual computer. Well, we could do, but the point of scripting this and being able to host this in the cloud console is being able to make change en masse. So we can deploy this software, or we can apply this configuration change, this script, so all of the devices in our network if we wanted to, and it would be just as easy as doing it to one. So it's a huge, huge time saver when we talk about being able to maintain the devices that we have, particularly when they're distributed. We don't have to get a remote connection onto each one individually to make the change. We can do it in a single unified fashion. Okay, so hopefully that gives you insights with regards to the scripting or the components capability. Now I'm going to jump back into the policies section. This is where we find the patch management capabilities of the solution. So again, new policy. We got the monitoring policies that which you looked at before, and in fact there is something that I'd just like to point out before we move into the patch management. When we select a monitor, you will notice we've got run the following components. So you can actually have those components that we were just looking at, those scripts that I was just demonstrating, run automatically in response to a monitor being triggered. And this may create some autonomy within the IT teams. This means that certain scenarios which are picked up by these monitors may potentially be able to be responded to automatically with a script, thereby saving the IT teams more money and time and creating autonomy within the workflow. But if we move back just quickly to policies again, and I'll show you the patch management capabilities within the solution. Again, very key area of keeping your endpoint secure is keeping all of the Windows updates up to date, all the vulnerabilities patched. So here we are, patch management policy. Now it's very straightforward. As before, we target the devices that we want, and the same things apply as before with the monitoring. We can use the default policies built in, default filters built in. We do have some timing options, of course, so we may wish to create a schedule, and you can see that there are very, very granular options in the console for creating whatever schedule it is that you're after for this to run periodically. The patch location is whether you want the patching to download to one specific computer on your local network and then distribute over your local network, or whether you want each computer to go to Microsoft and source the Windows updates itself directly. Patch approval is where we're going to set up the policy that we want the patching to adhere to. So it's pretty straightforward. You've got this little rules engine to choose the types of patches or the criteria that would approve a patch to be installed automatically. And what a lot of people end up going for is something a little bit like this. They base it on priority, though there's lots of options, and have something set up like this. Of course, you've got the logical operators in there again, so there's plenty of granularity, and you can do exactly the same for patches that you don't want to be installed. So for instance, you know that there's a particular update that's going to cause you issues, you can put it in there as a not approved patch. Then we have the configure individual patches section, and this is designed to be an ad hoc change to the policy. So imagine you've set this policy up, it's been running for months and months and months, but then one day an update comes out that's causing you a problem in your production environment, and you need to stop that update from continuing to be deployed. And to do that, you go into the available patching section, you'd select the patch that's causing you some distress, and you do not approve it. Now this is aimed to be a temporary change, so it would move from the available patches into the do not approve patches. Of course, this takes precedence over the policy that you've already set. And then you would solve the problem, or hopefully the issue would be solved within the patch. Once it has been, you would then move the patch from do not approve back into available. And then, of course, we've got our power options at the bottom, which I think is pretty self-explanatory. Do you want the devices to automatically reboot, and so on. So that's it. That's how you would set up your patch management. Of course, that again creates some autonomy in maintaining the devices and keeping the Windows updates up to date. The last area that I wanted to cover off, just the full circle, this whole presentation, is the reporting capability. Again, we're doing all of this hard work, so we need to make sure that the key decision makers and managers within the business recognize this work and understand that we are keeping the IT devices and everything in good health. And here we can set up reports in, again, a very similar fashion. You can put in a schedule to meet your needs. You can set up the different types of reports. There's all sorts of different reporting options in here which are customizable, as you can see. And then at the bottom, you can target specific devices and choose who you want the recipients of these reports to be. I can actually show you a couple. I've got some here that I run earlier. So device health summary report, just to give you an idea. Here we're seeing that we've got some problems. So on this server here, CentOS 7, we've got insufficient RAM and the antivirus isn't up to date. And then if we look further down, we've got a couple of other problems. We've got some devices that aren't fully patched. So you can see this is a really, really easy to digest way of having this information shared. Another one here, executive summary report, maybe a good one just to give some sort of executive or director in the business an overview with regards to the general health, some sort of gauge as to how well we're doing with looking after the IT infrastructure. This one actually marks you out of 100 on a percentile grid here. And it does it based off of all of these different sections. So we can see how well we're doing in the various different aspects of the solution that I've covered off. Asset management, of course, monitoring very straightforward things such as disk capacity, memory capacity, operating systems that are out of date and so forth. Monitoring is how adept are we being at keeping up with solving the monitors that are being triggered, the alerts that are coming off the back of these monitors. How well are we solving those alerts? Patch management, of course, a bit self-explanatory with regards to are all the software updates for Windows up to date? Software management, third-party software, common business applications, are we keeping these on the latest versions? And then, of course, antivirus and proactive maintenance. So this is a really good top-level report, and as you can see, it goes into more detail for each of those sections, like the other report. Okay, fantastic. So I think we've covered a lot of ground here today. I hope that was a good introduction to the systems management solution. I hope you gained some value out of it. I'd like to pass it back to Gabriel now and open the floor for some questions, if I may.
Cool, perfect. Thank you, Mike. That was very insightful indeed. So as you mentioned, now let's give 10 to 15 seconds for the attendees to drop some questions on the right side. And let's just wait a little bit to see the questions that come up.
Fantastic.
Okay, I can see there's something coming up already. Cool. So Mike, already there's one question here. The question is it possible to integrate with our help desk ticket system, the solution, so the help desk guy can use it to report and update the case and have it all in one place?
Yeah, so really great question, actually. So the solution, although we didn't necessarily have time to look at it today, does have a simple ticketing system built in. Now, it's not groundbreaking. It's not one of the main features of the solution, so it may not be adequate for some businesses, but for smaller companies, for sure, it's definitely going to be another value add of the solution. So this works in a way that the monitors that we demoed there can actually trigger the creation of a ticket in the console itself. And then, of course, this can be a way of managing how those monitors and alerts are dealt with. Similarly, you've got the emails that come off the back of those proactive monitors. So that can very easily be an email that goes to a third-party ticketing system and then is converted into a support ticket. So there are ways of integrating. There isn't any major API integration with third-party ticketing systems, but of course, we've got some good options in the solution already.
Great. Yeah. Thanks for that. And I know you mentioned also patch management, and you went a little bit briefly, but there's another question here in terms of there's a maximum number that the patch number of applications that the patch management can update. Is there a maximum, or just in terms of
No.
how many we can update, or?
No, so of course, patch management sort of branches to two different broad issues, and that is Windows updates versus third-party software. Now, actually, from a security perspective, the third-party software is arguably as important, if not more important. So when we talk about the limits, first of all, there is no limits in the solution, but of course, we're also talking about patching policies and also the scripting capability in the solution for keeping third-party software up to date. But in short, no, there isn't any limits to how many patching policies you can have. If there is, no one's ever hit them, and there isn't any limits with regards to how many components or scripts you can have in there for third-party software either.
Great. So it doesn't need an extra agent or something like that,
No,
right?
no additional software is required for the solution. It's literally just the very small lightweight agent, which I think is less than 10 megabytes in size, that you need to have installed across all of the devices to use all this functionality.
Cool. And just curiosity, can this tool also update other antivirus endpoints or?
So again, falling back into the scripting capabilities, it is possible to create a script that would uninstall any software for that matter, whether it be an antivirus solution, an EDR solution, or any software at all. There's often a way that you can script these. And then similarly, if you are, if we're talking about the rip and replace, so you're moving from one vendor to another vendor, or you're upgrading your endpoint security solution, this platform through scripting enables you to manage that entire process. In fact, it's something that we often use as part of professional services or the onboarding process within Panda, is we'll give customers or prospects a trial of this solution in order to aid that process. So it can be really, really helpful for uninstalling and reinstalling any software, including security solutions.
Great. Thanks for. So another question that we can see here is it possible to monitor USBs that are not authorized?
Okay, so I'm assuming that they're talking about USB blocking
Yeah,
and having some sort of insights to that. Now, in this solution, you can see USB attached devices, but that's as far as it goes. It's part of the inventory that's collected for the hardware of the device. However, with that in mind, our AD360 solution, which I mentioned right at the beginning of the call, does have USB blocking capabilities. So if that's something that you're looking for, I would definitely say reach out to your account manager at Technorizon, or reach out to us and we'll go through the AD360 solution in more detail for you.
definitely. Yeah, I think that's something that we can tackle in the next sessions. But yeah, I think, and I see there's another question also related to the what I asked. Is there a tool to scan the network looking for devices with no agent? So let's just say, are we able to? I think you mentioned that before, but just to emphasize on this question again, there's one of
Yeah,
another.
absolutely. Yeah, so there's multiple options actually when it comes to deploying the agent. The installer is a completely silent executable, and I mean it's completely silent. There isn't even an option for a window install shield wizard. So deployment is a simple case of getting the installer, the exe, to run on the computers that you wish to manage. And of course, you could do that through GPO or various third-party tools for deploying over networks. Although the solution itself does have the ability to scan the network. So if you get the agent on one device on the remote network, then you've got everything that you need to deploy it to the other devices. It will do that across, for Windows systems at least anyway. So there are some features in there to do that, and there's actually multiple facets to that feature as well. So there's different ways of doing it.
Great. So I think that completes the questions. Thanks so much, Mike, for answering those. It was very insightful, and as we can see, Panda can really help remote work and even management and controlling what's going on in your network. So if you have any further questions that we didn't touch here today, and also you would like to see, for example, the USB monitoring tool, as Mike mentioned, please send us an email at cyberinquiries@technorizongroup.com. Reach out to us via LinkedIn, and we can either schedule a demo for you to check it out further about the solution, or even any questions, we can send you more information about it. So yeah, again, many thanks, and see you see you guys in the next WebEx session, where we'll be covering backup as the first and latest layer of cyber with Barracuda networks. Again, Mike, thanks very much. Thanks to the Panda team for
Thanks for
joining.
having me.
And
Yep, thank you.
yeah, it was very insightful, and hope everyone have a great rest of the week and stay safe. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.
Bye.